Dear learners, welcome back to the research methodology course for tourism and hospitality management. In the last few modules, we discussed the methods of qualitative data analysis. We found coding, jottings, memos have a very important role in extracting the idea from the data that you have collected. So once again, let us remember, you collected the data through observation, interview or focus group discussions. Then as a part of analysis, you gone through the manuscript, then you made codes, that is first cycle codes or second cycle codes. Then parallelly you also made memos and the notes, sticky notes that we use, jottings. This all is going to help us making meaning of the qualitative data. So in this lecture, we will be seeing how we can understand the codes and how we can relate it with, so that we can get a meaning out of this and visualization of the data that you analyzed in a meaningful way. So dear learners, let us focus upon today's session. The content for today's topic is data analysis process, how to inference meaning out of this analysis, and we will end up with the data visualization. Code is a label that we attach to a portion of the data. Code captures the meaning of a data chunk, means it can be 2 lines or a paragraph that you attach a particular label. Several codes create a category. So similar nature of meaning, if a code, a set of codes that you give, you can put that codes in one category, or we can call this category of codes coding family. And once you get the coding family, then it is easy to make meaning out of it. One of the very commonly used term is thematic content analysis. Themes emerge when we have a set of codes grouped under category. So there are several ways we can present our data. One of the mechanism is identify the categories which are similar having meaning. One, you can relate with the category to category, and the second one, you can relate it with the category and phenomena. When we discuss in the coming slides about data visualization, you will get a better understanding of it. So what we do, we have to search for meaning, we have to search homogeneity or heterogeneity among the code categories. We can focus upon horizontal analysis, that is category to category, or vertical, that is category to phenomena. In the process, we will attempt to validate the categories so that we will have a proper meaning of the codes, categories and themes when you relate it with your research question. So this journey of qualitative data analysis is a search of information to a knowledge making process. So the emerged themes, you have to cross check with the literature, and the literature will validate the findings. When you relate the findings with the research question and you try to identify the higher order themes and dimensions, your work become very exhaustive and the research analysis process become more robust. So it is easy to understand if the information is presented in a table form. When we conduct interviews, we have a large data chunk, but how to make it meaningful? To put it in tables or make diagrammatic presentation. One of the mechanism is creating a matrix. Matrix which you can use in the qualitative data is to represent what features dominate in the data. There are certain aspects which we can observe, like demographic features. We have a heterogenic group whom we have observed. So if you club that into age groups, 20 to 30, 31 to 40, like that, then it creates one category. And what observation you found in each category, it creates a matrix. And this matrix can be further checked with the suitability of creating a graph or counting the words. So the first one we term that is creating matrix out of the qualitative data. In software where we use NVivo or Atlas TI, it gives you the option of comparing the data with specific documents and codes. So it is called code document matrix. So one side you have codes and other side you have the documents. So if you interviewed 20 people and when you get the result, how many of them repeatedly spoke on a particular aspect, and that is dominating, means it will appear in a color code. And second one is network. Network creation is identifying the relationship between variables that you observe. We see in quantitative researches independent variables and dependent variables. Here we have to identify the items or the dimensions that you observe in the data which you can relate it, and that relationship we have to define. So qualitative data is all about giving meanings. Let us see in the coming slide how we can do this. So the first part of the inference making process is creating a description. You have the data with you. You can start with describing participants, the demographic features of the participant, and why you choose this participant for the study. Then in the next sequence you can present how the participants look at the dynamics of a certain phenomena that you are observing. Second, the variability, means everybody look at it through the same prism or they have difference of opinions. This is what we call variability. And if there is a variability, understand why and how. These 2 points are important. Then what conditions that influence the variability that comes into your mind naturally. So these influential factors and the consequences now will give you enough scope for understanding the causal relationship. Let us take an example. In tourism and hospitality, when we conduct researches, imagine it is conducted among the students, the career prospects of tourism and hospitality courses. So I exclusively go for hospitality management courses like a BHM or hotel management programs at various levels. It could be catering technology, or it could be culinary arts, or diploma programs in front office, housekeeping, etc. Now let us choose very carefully one area, BHM, Bachelor of Hotel Management. Then when we study the career prospects, let us take students from different institutions in India, like Institute of Hotel Management under Government of India, or Taj Group, Oberoi Group, their institutions. how the students look at their career after completion of this course. So here you can apply your mind, and when you conduct the interviews, you can identify whether students from a particular group of institutions find the career in hospitality is interesting, what extent they are interested, or what extent they know about the future career, and where do they set their goals. So these variability aspects very easily we can identify. And when you look at the students' career progress from first year to fourth year, they may develop a better understanding about their future career. So in a way, we are taking note of the progress here, that is in the form of learning progress from year 1 to year 4. While they reach year 4, they may get a lot of industry exposure. They may also come to know about the career prospects, and a student in fourth year may give a better insight on the future career options comparing to a student from first year. Similarly, institutions which are reputed or renowned, they have better career prospects, and the students would be more exposed to such opportunities. Whereas institution with a limited infrastructure, struggling with the initial hiccups, so they may have a kind of limited career awareness, or they may get a limited exposure that may reflect upon the students' viewpoints on their career prospect. So identifying these variabilities, and you are trying to relate the antecedents, that means the determinants and the consequences, will give you enough scope for explaining the understanding of students on the career in hospitality after completion of that course. Let us see another example. I presented here a conceptually clustered matrix. So you can understand that this is a matrix, and there is another term that you use, clustered, means cluster means clubbing together. So this clustering is done on the basis of a particular concept. So major topics I have identified, then subtopics which you find here, which is further divided into variables and concepts. I am giving you here a hypothetical example of the travel preferences of people from different countries. I made it into regions that you can see in the left, that is South Asia, Southeast Asia, West Asia or Central Asia. So imagine that this study is conducted with a limited set of people, and who preferred cultural as their first motivation, the cultural tourist attraction as their first line, the motivation aspect. So when we interview, we come to know that how they travel with friends, small groups, or family, friends or groups. Now number 2, people from different regions have different perspective. So when I conducted interview, imagine South Asian countries, especially Sri Lanka, India, Nepal. When I got the data, the reflection of the data was religious visits, this dominated. And the data which I got from Southeast Asia, which dominated gastronomic features, searching for food or the choice of good food or the attraction, the food as one of the major attraction of the tour program. Then some examples which I relate here is ethnic similarities, that is one of the choice which I connected it with West Asia, and Central Asia, where people looked for popular culture. So now when I present this information in a table where I am trying to deconstruct the understanding of people on major motivational aspects. So this particular metrics give you an idea about a conceptually clustered matrix, how you can present the insight from the data. We will see how we can create networks based upon certain logics. Spradley in 1979 proposed a taxonomy of identifying relationships. There are 9 relationships presented by Spradley, which you can see in this slide. These are given with assumed terms like X and Y, but when we see certain context or hypothetical situations, we can make it very easily understandable. So let us see one to one. These relationships are called semantic relationship or folk taxonomy. So we use X and Y in mathematics or statistics to present dependent or independent variables or certain representative variables. One relationship is X is a kind of Y, and second is X is a place in Y. So what is the difference between first and second? The second one indicates location, a place, and the first one indicating a category, a particular similar aspect which you identify. Look at the third one. X is a result of Y. So here there is a consequence which you find. Now another one, X is a reason for doing Y. Now we have taken vaccine against COVID. So why we have taken vaccine? We do not want to get infected. So vaccine is one of the solution of not getting infected. So these examples we can identify from this semantic relationship. Similarly, you can find X is a place for doing Y. Now if you want to do higher studies, you should go to a reputed institution. So the reputed institution in terms of higher education, it can be QS ranking, or in India we have NIRF. So when you find Jawaharlal Nehru University, Hyderabad University, Banaras Hindu University, which are featured in top NIRF rankings, so where you look for your higher education. So it's an example which you can say X is a place for doing a particular case Y. Then X is used for Y, X is a way to do Y, X is a step in Y, and finally X is an attribute of Y. So we have one major case X and Y. So how both are related, we can identify a certain relationship, these 9 relationships which is proposed by Spradley. Now let me show you a easy diagrammatic presentation, that is the taxonomy based graphic which you find here, the tourist motivation. Here I have taken 2 different types. One is solo trip, solo trip, independent traveling, individually without depending anyone. Second one is family trips. So family trips include children, elderly people, other family members. See, preferences, driving tours, pilgrimages or get together. So when you look at these aspects, the reason of going for family tours, that is maybe pilgrimages or get together. Now the result is they might be searching for popular places, shrines or locations which are safer for families. Now let us look at the other end, where an individual prefers solo trip. In the solo trips, probably you can think of biking tours, self-driving tours, which can be short trip or even long trips, which can have camping or which could include offbeat destinations and natural sites. So, let us again look back the relationship, motivation, and the second one is the type of tour. The type of tour here is solo trip or family trip. And second, the locations, safe locations, renowned shrines or popular tourist attractions. So, reason for doing why? Because here we love family relationships, and to strengthen relationships it is also good to have tours, and in a different location people enjoy. So, in a way you can create such kind of semantic relationships when you conduct researches. Let us go to another way of presenting the data. Now you might be thinking, I am showing you diagrams. Diagrams here means data visualization too. So, data how we can present in a way, we can identify the mapping of the substance, the content that you go through a particular data chunk. So, we can identify very easily theoretical forms. Theoretical forms in different domains or context and concepts that you can identify. You can look into the variables, constructs or its relationship, which you can connect and say it is a framework. So, then other aspects which are like questionnaire design, sampling framework, sample size, data collection. So, in different ways you can create mapping. So, the mapping which says, for example, you have used a theory, that theory speaks about theory of planned behavior, which explains attitude and behavior intentions. So, the data collection process which include primary data, that is through questionnaire survey or maybe through observation, and the analysis process. If it is qualitative data analysis, we use the qualitative data analysis softwares, else we may use SPSS or strata. So, the stages of this research you can put in flow chart wise. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 and you can connect it. So, that is what we call cognitive mapping. Another style of presentation is growth gradient. Dear students, I hope all of you remember the product life cycle. Tourism, it is called tourism area life cycle, or in hospitality we can say resort life cycle theory. So, when we study about a destination, we come across the changes happening. So, when you get inputs from the respondents may tell you the history of the location's development and the stages that a destination undergone and the present stage. So, is it possible at your end to create a growth gradient map like this? A growth gradient map tells you time bound or time specific changes happening in a particular location. Look at this diagram I presented here. We saw exploration, introduction, growth, maturity and decline. These are the stages of a change happening in a tourist destination according to tourist area life cycle theory or resort life cycle theory. I tried to connect it with Iridux. This theory explains the change happening in attitude of people in a locality according to the changes happening in the destination. So, from euphoria means everything new, excitement, that changes into a kind of a frustration or you can say apathy, indifference. So, what time it takes? You can say around 20 years of tourism development in a destination. 20 years before, people were highly excited and there was a lot of euphoria of tourism. But over years, they identified that they are displaced from that locality and that leads to their level of frustrations, and they don't now look at tourism as a positive thing, or rather they get away from the such kind of activities that we can call apathy. This is also a useful tool for the presentation of qualitative data findings. Now, last point here is decision modeling. Decision modeling is another tool for presenting your qualitative data findings. It presents the flow of actions in a sequence. We can identify dichotomous functions like yes or no. One is yes or other one is no in almost every case. So, here I am presenting you the idea of a postgraduate student to develop a startup business. When the student is searching for advisors how to find financial support for small businesses, one is what scale you are looking at. Are you looking at a small scale or you are looking at a medium scale business? So, when you look at a small scale, you find a theme cafe is in the mind of the student. Initially the student is little confused. The theme cafe, a single unit should he work into or it should be a chain. When we look again of the medium sized investment properties, specialty restaurants, and this again we can find options. It should be a single unit or it should be a chain restaurant group. So, decision modeling, though this is conceptual, there is nothing scientific or empirical backup for designing this model, but you can understand that we can create such diagrams to present qualitative data analysis findings. Another example is the composite sequence analysis. So, multiple cases and multiple scenarios which we can compare, and this comparison can be done chronologically of a observed period, particularly observed period. Then it suits to this particular analysis suits to longitudinal studies. So, when we talk about starting up of a business, if you interview people who have minimum 5 to 6 years of experience of running a business, many of them may say they had a struggleful beginning, and some of them may say no, they had good beginning. And when you look at the progress happening over years, the progress and market coverage, difference of opinion we can find, and we can make it in a metric format which will give you a kind of sequential analysis, what happened sequentially, that we call composite sequence analysis. So, let us now enter into the scientific way of explaining. What we are explaining? Interrelationship, change happening in an area, or causal relationship. What we will observe? Why things happen and what explanation is given by the respondent, how the researcher is going to present the explanation. So, there are different kind of relationships which we have seen, that is semantic relationship we have seen. We have to define it, explain the relationship variable by variable, or we can find it with the phenomena and variable. So, another aspect is presenting the causation. Causal chains or causal network diagram will be helpful in this matter. Dear learners, now let us wrap up what we discussed today. We started with coding categories, and we also see how we can make meaning by doing clustering or by creating coding families into meaningful diagrams. We have gone through a number of matrices, and we have seen the possible diagrammatic presentation of qualitative data findings. Now, it is easy for you when you approach your data with a mind of, when you read the data, you will have an idea what patterns are emerging out of it. While you do analysis repeatedly, you will get a meaningful picture out of the data and it can be presented very well. At the end, we have seen the methods of explaining. So students, while you do the analysis, follow the techniques I presented to you. You can develop your own style using the softwares or AI tools. I hope this session was useful for all of you. If you have any doubts, kindly come back to me. Thank you.